Welcome to another episode. Today, I'm going to be talking about an experience that I'm dealing with right now, which is something that probably a lot of you have dealt with if you train dogs for a living or if you train dogs in any fashion. And this might be your personal dog, this might be if you are a foster. This is something that you're going to relate to quite a bit. And that is how to work with very soft dogs. Now, soft dogs are incredibly challenging. I know at a certain point in your career, you think aggressive dogs are challenging, but aggressive dogs, yes, they're challenging, but they're at least for the most part predictable. You know what triggers them, you know how to navigate. And it might be difficult for sure, but even though it has its own set of challenges working with an aggressive, very tough dog, it has its own different set of challenges. What I have found is that the soft dogs, the very, very soft dogs, to me are definitely some of the more challenging cases that I have dealt with ever. In my years working with dogs, which is on over 13 years now, the times that I remember, the dogs that I remember the most are the ones that were really soft, are the ones that had issues with confidence. And I don't mean like, the average timid dog. I'm talking the dog that is way past that. Those have been the dogs that have truly made me second guess if this is something that I wanted to do. And I'll expand on that a little bit more. And I'll also talk about how to toughen them up. Because that's one of the things that we want to know. How do we deal with the soft dogs? And my solution now is toughen them up. My solution years ago would have been let's work them in a certain way that caters to their soft personality. And that's the approach a lot of people use. My approach now is different, and I'm going to go over that in more detail here in a moment. Let's expand a little bit more on soft dogs. So, soft dogs, you know, you recognize a soft dog when they give you certain signs, okay? One of the first signs is they won't take anything from you. I don't care how hungry they are. They will not eat anything. Now there are some timid dogs that will eat, but again, I'm talking about the ones that are way past that. Some of these dogs will not eat in front of you. Or even if it's not in front of you, the fact that their environment is different, whether the owner brought it to you for a private lesson or the owner left them with you for a board and train, the dog will not eat. The fact that this dog is in a new environment, that is enough to put this dog in a state of survival, so to speak. Right? That's one of the signs. They will not eat. The other sign is they always have this demeanor of, like poor me. They have this demeanor of very timid, again, beyond timid, right? Low body posture. Sometimes their ears are very, very back. Their tails are very low, sometimes even straight up right between the legs. That's another sign. Their overall body. They're always scanning because they're hyper alert. They're always scanning the environment. Another sign, which is this one right here, the one I'm going to tell you next, is one of the most challenging parts of working with a very soft dog, and that is they will not eliminate in front of you. They just won't. Elimination is a very submissive, maybe not submissive. The word I'm looking for is vulnerable. eliminating is a vulnerable window of time. If you're a very timid dog, eliminating is eliminating is a fraction of time where something bad could happen. Obviously nothing bad is going to happen, but in the mind of this dog, or how this dog is seeing the world, that's what is happening. And these very timid dogs will not eliminate. Okay, they will not eliminate in front of you. So one of two things ends up happening, and both are very frustrating. They will not eliminate for days, and what they'll do is they will either hold it, uncomfortably hold it, like to the point where you're thinking, I gotta take this dog to the vet. Right? And they'll just hold it. They will rather be in pain and uncomfortable than relieve themselves in your vicinity. Or the other thing, which is very frustrating also, is they would rather eliminate in their confined area than eliminate out there in the open where you're kind of there watching. So these are two very frustrating side effects, or symptoms of a very timid, soft dog. And it's very difficult. They're both bad. They're both very challenging. Because see, now you let's compound all of these symptoms. They won't take anything from you. They won't take food. Even if they're hungry, they're not going to eat in front of you. If they're eating in front of you and they're timid, that's really good. Then that's not the dog I'm talking about. Okay, I've worked with a bunch of timid dogs and somewhat soft dogs, and yes, they're timid, but they warm up to you, and they warm up fairly quickly, and they remain timid, but they warm up. They kind of get with the program. I'm not talking about those dogs. I'm talking about the dogs that are past that, beyond that. And those dogs are not gonna eat. They just will not eat. So they're a real just mess. So now you have a dog that won't eat. Let's compound those symptoms. They won't eat. They're hyper alert, very uncomfortable. There's really, you can't really communicate a whole lot. And they won't eliminate in front of you. So on top of them being uncomfortable because they're in a new environment, now additionally they're uncomfortable because they're physically uncomfortable. And the other additional symptom is, with some dogs, is they would rather eliminate in their crate, in their confinement, than eliminate out there with you nearby, because you have to potty them, right? So they're both bad. I mean, they're both eliminating issues are bad. So all of this leads to a very challenging dog. Now I'm going to talk about how we work on that, and how some of the more memorable cases that I've had. I had this client dog about a year and a half ago, and I've had some very timid dogs in the past that fit the criteria that I'm talking about, but this one was one of the most memorable dogs. This dog literally did not eliminate for about 10 days. 10 days. This is over a week. This is the most I've ever seen. And I was, by day 5, by 4 or 5, I was on the phone with the owner. And I was telling him, hey, I don't know if this is going to work out. I might have to take your dog to the vet, because I was genuinely concerned. Okay. I've seen dogs, and I've worked with dogs that held it for 3 days, 4 days, and that's a lot. That was a lot to me. But this was a new record. This was an adult dog and held it for about 10 days. And when she finally went, it was like a puddle. Now this is so unsafe. I did talk to the owner, and we worked this out to where, I wanted to make sure he knew, right, what was happening. And I also wanted to let him know, hey, dude, let's maybe this is not gonna work out. Maybe I gotta take your dog to the vet so that they can do something, because I don't want your dog to get a UTI, burst her bladder, um, none of the things that could happen, because this is almost impossible for a dog to hold it that long. Now this dog at least didn't eliminate in her crate. I say at least, but honestly, I would have been relieved if this dog at least would have relieved in her crate. But she didn't. She did not. She was a clean dog. She was like, I am not eliminating in my crate. But I'm not eliminating out there. Very timid. So timid. Hyper alert. Uh, if there was any noise somewhere in the distance, she immediately would cock her head in that direction and go, I don't know. I don't like that sound. Very, very challenging. And I have a dog currently at this time that is not quite as bad as that one, but it was also very, very challenging. And I'll tell you about this one too. So this client dog is a very sweet dog. She's not necessarily terrified of everything. She's not terrified of me. She's super friendly, super sweet. She warmed up to me fairly quickly. She warmed up to my wife fairly quickly. But the environment, that's a different story. And this dog, I was also on the phone with the owner, and I had the same conversation. Okay, day 5 or 6, I told her, hey, if your dog by tomorrow doesn't go, I should take her to the vet. And I explained this to her. And the next day, this was day 7, so it was day 6 that I talked to her. Day 7, at 3:15 in the morning, she finally went pee. It had been 7 days, technically over 7 days, since this dog peed last. Okay, and finally, on day 7, past day 7, at 3:15 in the morning, she finally went. And how do I know she went at 3:15? This is also a clean dog. She doesn't go in her crate. What I was doing with her is the same thing I did with the other dog. Is I was out there with them, pottying them for hours at a time. Hours. Not going for walks. I don't do that, right? I don't take them for walks and go, all right, let's take you for a walk so you can go pee. That can create bad habits. I'm very aware of that, so I don't do that. I just go, we're going to find a spot, big spot, and we're going to stay there. You're going to have a 20-foot leash. You can have the range of the 20-foot leash, walk around, smell, find the spot that you want. We're not going for a walk. This is the potty area. Take your time. Typically works for most dogs, even the timid ones. But the dogs that are way beyond that, those dogs I'm talking about now, those even the 20, even if you just completely leave them off leash in a fenced in area, they still won't do it. And this is something I had tried to do also. Big fenced in area, big fenced in area. Go ahead, go out there and go pee. No leash attached to you. Same thing. The dog would just cling to me. And she was like, I'm not going out there. So there was no way to convince this dog that it was safe to take her to go potty out there. It took me giving her water and me telling her, hey, dude, you're going to keep drinking. I need you to go pee. And of course, this slows down the training, because now I'm aware, on top of the issues that this dog has with being timid, Now, it also is now uncomfortable because it hasn't gone pee in like 5 days. So naturally, I have to keep that in mind and not go insane with the training. So finally, the dog went, and about a so on about day 7 it went, and it was about 10 days before this dog went poop. So this dog, as of this moment, is still here with us. Now she is getting better. I took her out. She went poop earlier, and she went pee just a moment ago. Okay, which is right now I'm making this audio, and it's 2 in the morning right now. So about half an hour ago, I took her out, and it only took about 5 minutes, and this dog went pee. So she is getting better. She's getting more comfortable, and this is a big thing, because even the owner herself told me, yeah, she never goes pee on leash. So now, additionally, obviously, this is a problem too. A lot of people. This is not just her. She told me she felt bad about it, but the fact is, most pet owners don't potty their dogs on leash. Most people have a little bit of a backyard. Maybe not most people. A lot of people have a little bit of a backyard, and when they potty their dogs, they just let their dogs out, or they have the doggy door. And when they potty their dogs, they just have the doggy door, and the dog goes through the doggy door and eliminates at its own leisure whenever throughout the day. So a lot of people don't give their dogs that experience of pottying on leash. So that's what's happening with this dog, okay? So the other dog from about a year ago or so, maybe over a year now, maybe even a year and a half to two. But that dog, the one that held it for 10 days, had similar issues that this dog has. Very timid, hyper aware, hyper alert. But eventually that one got better. And naturally, we had to extend the training. Um, we had to add like another week or two. And that dog did do well once it got comfortable with us, once it got comfortable in the environment, and once I once I basically, and I'm going to explain how I do the rest, which is, again, my goal is I want to toughen the dog up. I don't want to cater to their timidness and their softness. I don't want to cater to that. I want to toughen them up. And it's the same thing that I'm doing with this dog. And I'm gonna expand on that here in a moment, just to give you an idea of what I mean by that, okay? So this dog right now, the one I'm working with now, this one in training, okay? Same thing. She doesn't want to take treats. She doesn't want to take food. She'll eat in her crate. She's fine with me, but she will not take food. Right? Occasionally she will, but then once we keep going, she's like, oh, no, I'm not eating anything. So at least she eats in her crate. But with this dog, what happens is the moment the training session gets a little bit lengthy, but now remember this, she's not taking food, okay? So it's not like I can just do a lot of luring and a lot of reward based training. She's not taking food. So I have to do a lot of molding. I have to do a lot of physically manipulating into position. I have to do a lot of leash handling with her. And the thing with her is there is a little bit of pressure. She immediately tells me, I don't want that. Like she's got an aversion to pressure. It's like she feels a bit of pressure and it's like the end of the world. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe you're putting pressure on me. And I'm not talking like a lot of pressure, okay? I'm talking about minimal required pressure to show her, right? To manipulate into positions, into behavior. Keep in mind, she's not taking food. She's not taking lures. She's not doing any of that. She's like, no, I don't want that. I have other priorities, and I'm not going to take food. Okay, and if you're asking, well, just don't feed her for a few days. I've done that. And she's not eaten for days for me to create that, that food drive did not happen. So at some point, I'm not going to go, okay, I'm just going to starve her for like 10 days. That's just not my style. I don't do that. I will withhold food for a few days at the most. Okay, at the most, I will withhold food for a few days if the dog has no desire to eat. But I don't go past a few days. To me, that's my limit. I don't want to see the dog getting sick. I don't want to see the dog's ribs showing. I don't want to see any of that. So I'm going to use other techniques. There are people that I know will hold out as long as they need to. And I've seen these people and I've seen their dogs, the dogs that they work with in that manner, and their ribs and hips. I mean, the dog has tons of food drive, but they're withholding food for days, and these dogs are like ribs and hips. I just don't like that. It's not my style. So I don't do that. So with her, not taking food, I'm using some pressure, and immediately shuts down. Right, she starts to alligator roll. On one of the sessions, she even shed herself, and it wasn't even a bad session. I wasn't even doing anything intense. It was very simple stuff, very simple, easy stuff. Like, hey, I'm gonna put you in place. And any bit of resistance she felt on the leash, it was the end of the world. Now, if you're thinking, well, was she on a prong collar? Nope, no prong collar, just a slip collar. Minimal pressure. But the moment that leash would get tight, alligator rolls and screaming. And it sounded and it looked like I was breaking a horse. She was screaming, whining, jumping, just rolling, all kinds of things. And she even, on one of the sessions, she even shed herself. And I'm thinking, wow, this is definitely one of the most timid, softest dogs. And I know she has learned to manipulate her situation with those antics. I know she's been successful in some way. She's been successful at doing this to manipulate her situation. I know this. So now I'm going to expand on my approach and why I feel this way. So I don't want to cater to the softness. I don't want to go, oh, you're a soft dog. Well, it's okay. We'll train you this way. We'll completely change it, and we're going to arrange everything according to your temperament. I used to do that. It made sense, and a lot of people do this. I know they do. But the reason I don't like that is it truly gives no dignity to the dog. I don't want that. And I know you don't want that. The best way to toughen up a soft animal, and this works with people too, the best way to do that is to introduce or expose the animal to uncomfortable situations. Not just for the sake of bringing them to uncomfortable situations, but for the sake of helping them deal with these uncomfortable situations, helping them face their fears. And what do I mean by that? So, again, the example of this dog that I was just telling you about. The moment there was a little bit of leash pressure, it was over. She was like, I'm not doing that. So, me, several years ago, I would have probably sat on the ground and I would have patted my legs and I would have kept trying to give the dog food. And if the dog didn't take food, I would have cooked up some meatballs or something and still gotten on the ground, tap on my legs, and probably tell her, it's okay, calm down. Hey, look, it's fine. I would have probably done that several years ago. But what I did instead is I found that I identified something that made her uncomfortable, pressure. And this also happens to be something that will help her. Okay? The dogs, they should understand leash pressure. It's part of owning a dog is owning a leash, right? So what I did is I identified that that was what was making her uncomfortable, and I left the discomfort there. I didn't remove it. I kept it. And I treated her with dignity. This is me telling her, I know you're better than this. And we're going to keep doing this. Right? I'm going to lead you to this platform. I'm going to lead you to do this. And yes, you're going to fight it and you're going to be terrified, but I'm not going to stop. I'm going to keep helping you through this. It's not going away. I'm going to keep helping you through this. The leash pressure comes on, and the leash pressure goes away when you reach the platform. And then we do it again. So the dog is now learning how to turn the pressure off. So I'm not just choking the dog and going, well, you need leash pressure, so I'm going to just give you discomfort. No. I'm doing it because it's part of the training session. Right? So that's what I mean by that. So if the dog is uncomfortable in, being outside, guess what we're going to train? We're going to train outside. If it makes you somewhat uncomfortable to be in front of people, in front of dogs, then guess what? We're going to bring you in front of people, in front of dogs. Keeping a good distance, of course. We're not necessarily flooding here, but we are letting the dog know, we're letting the animal know. That makes you uncomfortable. Guess what? We have to face those fears. We have to do it in the vicinity of those things. That's how you toughen up the animal, is by callousing, by toughening them up with the things that make them uncomfortable. Now, obviously, if your dog is, I always have to make sure that I clarify some things, because I don't know who the audience is. I know the audience is largely dog trainers, pet owners, but sometimes the audience is people who don't fully understand. So I'm going to clarify something. I'm not saying that if your dog doesn't like gunshots, that you should just get a bunch of fireworks and firecrackers and just place them around your dog. I'm not saying that if your dog is, maybe doesn't do well with thunder, that you bring your dog outside and stake him out during a thunderstorm for the sake of toughening them up. That's not going to work. Okay, and then that type of discomfort is, you're just giving discomfort for the sake of discomfort. It needs to be more controlled than that. So to me, the leash pressure had a goal. The goal was training her to do certain things, because she obviously didn't want food. Even if she was taking food, okay, I would still do the leash pressure. Even if she was taking food, I would still do the leash pressure. I would still let her know, look, I understand you don't like leash pressure, but we have to face this. We have to get over this aversion, this unreasonable fear that you have to pressure being put on the leash. And want to work through it. So that's what we do. We toughen them up. Now, as far as the potty training, what do? You just you learn that you have to be out there for a period of time. That's what I was doing with this dog. I was spending like well over 8 hours just hanging out with her outside. I mean, I wasn't going to bed until like 3 in the morning or more. I was it was such a disruption to my day. But it's important to me because it's important to this dog, which in the end is important to the client. So that's the level of commitment that I have, and that's what I'm going to do. The other approach too that I have taken is I go, hey, look, I'm not going to spend 3 hours with you out here. I'm going to give you 10 minutes. If in those 10 minutes you don't go, you go back in the crate. And I'm going to take you out again, a few hours from now. And again, I'm only going to give you 10 minutes. If you want to hold it, be my guest, hold it, but you're going to go back in the crate. Now, about the dog that goes, fine, I'll just go piss and shit in my crate. We go, okay, do that, but I'm cleaning that crate. And if you got to be in that crate when I clean it, because you don't mind the discomfort of pissing in your crate, you don't mind the discomfort of taking a dump in your crate, that's fine. Then I'm gonna bring that crate outside, right? And I'm gonna hose it down, and you're gonna be in it. And then I'm gonna give you a bath. So now I'm giving the crate a cleaning, and you're getting a bath anyway, right? So that's how I bring a little bit of that discomfort to let the dog know you don't want to piss in your crate, right? But again, in the grand scheme of things, you look at it and you go, sometimes I think with that dog from over a year ago and this one, I have thought to myself, I would be relieved if you just pissed your crate. Just for the sake of you not being uncomfortable. So that's how I deal with that. Is I just spend a lot. I'm prepared to spend a lot of time with them outside for those, just to hang out with them. Go, hey, dude, this is the potty break. And yeah, the potty break's going to last freaking 2 hours. But we're going to stand here and we're just going to go. Or, right, if you do go in your crate, if you happen to be that type of dog, the crate's getting a cleaning and you're getting a bath. And definitely contact the owner and keep them up to date with that, because it's a very potentially dangerous ordeal. Not that the dog is necessarily going to die, but the discomfort could create some issues. And I want to let the owner make that decision. That's why I call them. That's why I'm in touch with them. And I go, hey, this is what's happening. It's been so many days. Dog hasn't done anything. I want to let you know what I recommend. And here are some of the things, some of the options. Okay? But toughen them up. If you have a soft dog that you're working with, do not cater to them. Don't dance around the training and get on the ground and try to baby them and try to be their friends. They don't need that. They need strength. They need you to be strong. They need to be strong. And the best way to do that is to toughen them up with things that they don't want to do. Because that's what happens. You tell them, hey, we got to do this. They go, nope, I shut down. I'm not doing it. I'm terrified. I'm going back to being incredibly timid. And we go, no, that is unacceptable and it's not an option. You're doing it. You're going to get over it. And I know you can because you are an animal that can overcome this issue. That's how we do it. All right. If you have been successful with other ways to do it, drop me a comment. Let me know what's worked for you. I can tell you, doing it, switching to this way of doing it compared to kissing the dog's ass, so to speak, which did help, but the results were limited. And I've noticed that toughening them up works tremendously better. The dogs truly do get tougher. That's my priority now. But let me know what's worked for you. And if you have any questions that you have, any topic that you would like me to touch on, let me know, and I would love to expand on that topic, which is in your mind, which you want an answer to, which you want a different perspective to. Otherwise, make sure you guys follow me on Instagram. Dog training is my passion. Facebook, dog training is my passion. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Dog training is my passion. And if you want to check out some of the books that I've written, go to Amazon and search William Garrido, Garrido. And I've written 4 books on there on different topics, from common myths about dogs to protection training. And I'm writing more too. So there is more books that are going to be released on the oncoming years. So I'll talk to you guys later. I'll see you in the next episode.